if I could, we had to run a couple minutes late, I guess, so, we're trying to get in parking spaces outside, but I'm grateful for a positive showing here. I'm going to be turning this over to Kim in a moment, because Kim every month puts together all the information for our LEPC meetings and looking for speakers and putting together the agenda and then getting everything set up. And I think this month she found a very interesting topic and speaker, and she's been going back and forth to the point where I had to start asking her questions today about how'd you find these individuals, and this topic is one that I think everybody right now is concerned with. And why are we having it in the LEPC setting? Because it's a community-wide issue. It relates to law enforcement, public safety, town government, all the things that we talk about monthly when it comes to our local emergency planning. So I think this was a great opportunity and a good opportunity for all of us to hear somebody that's an expert in the field. And I'm going to ask Kim to step up, and she's going to be doing the introductions, because she went out of her way to find the speakers and to bring forth this lecture for us, and I'm looking forward to it. So, Kim, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Super. So how did we get here? Well, I did my homework. Did anyone else? I'll be looking for you to pass in your little slip of paper about future guest speakers, as the Chief asked, I think 1 or 2 months ago.
Every month.
At our meeting. Really how we got here, back in very early January, MEMA, Mass Emergency Management Agency, sent out an email about a webinar on cybersecurity, and there were a few things that caught my eye in the little description, and one was that we could learn about Salt Typhoon and Volt Typhoon, and I thought that was a storm, so you can tell how much education I have in cybersecurity, and I figured, well, that's definitely a red flag that we need to be a little more educated here in Falmouth, particularly in emergency management. But the great thing about the information that CISA can give us is that it drills down from, say the highest echelon all the way down to you and your neighbors. And I love that. I love that there's information on a level that we can understand it, because obviously I was well out of my element. And I did happen to sit through the 2-hour, it was pretty long, wasn't it, Nate, if you sat in on that? It was like 2 hours long about this cybersecurity and the sophisticated cyber espionage campaigns that we have going on. So that was the jumping off point, and then I signed up for this cyber threat call that was weekly that DHS puts out, and in the bottom of that information I saw CISA, and I thought, well, what is this? So I did a little research, and lo and behold, they actually are a very accommodating organization through Department of Homeland Security and offer to go out and speak. And so hence drilling down to a lot of the other people that I spoke to, I was able to secure Montserrat O'Toole to come and speak to us, and she is just a wealth of information. She has an amazing background, and I have a little bio here that I pulled that I would love to just share with you. In addition to her being Department of Homeland Security advisor for the Commonwealth of Mass, she's also a seasoned strategist and attorney who merges her expertise in law, cybersecurity, AI, and business to drive innovative solutions at the intersection of technology and policy. She leverages her legal background and technical knowledge to help organizations navigate complex challenges. She builds sustainable infrastructures and fosters growth. She's experienced in not only litigation, but policy development and strategic planning. She's also accomplished in integrating technology into community-driven growth, corporate responsibility, and inclusive practices. She started her own coaching and consulting business called MOCA, and the vision there is to support businesses and nonprofit organizations to promote justice and equality, and create resilience and forward-thinking communities. So with that said, and if there's anything I missed, I apologize. The list was long, I had to condense it. But we are very, very fortunate and pleased to have you, so welcome.
Thank you. So thank you so much for that. That's actually my personal bio. I generally don't mention all of those things when I do these presentations. But my background is legal. I worked for the city of Providence in Rhode Island. I'm from Rhode Island. I drove up here from Rhode Island. I was working as everything. I was doing litigation, contracts, a whole bunch of stuff, and then got into cybersecurity because we didn't have a robust cybersecurity system in Providence. And so I was like, yeah, this is not good, right? And as a lawyer, our goal is to manage the risk, right? And I'm saying that I said to my boss, listen, we're gonna get all of these cases that are gonna come in where we get lawsuits, where the city's gonna keep being sued, right? Every time we have a breach because we have no protocols in place. So then I became the head cybersecurity person for the city of Providence, and everything just sort of spiraled from there. So long story short, I took a couple of different jobs after that, ended up at CISA, and here I am. My main focus right now is AI, but happy to delve deep into cybersecurity specifically. So this is a really long presentation. I'm not gonna get through all the slides. Please feel free to stop me in between and ask questions. Like Kim said, it goes really high level to lower level, right? Like we're not gonna talk about Salt Typhoon and Vault Typhoon and all those things. If you do wanna learn more about that, you can sign up for our alerts and advisories or reach out to me. My contact information is on the last slide. So definitely feel free to continue to engage with us. So that we can get you that information, but this is really just like basic cybersecurity. So if you feel like it's too basic, just let me know. I'll skip some slides and we can get into depth in the more advanced stuff. So before that, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about CISA in case you don't know about us and what we do. We're designed for collaboration and partnership. We partner with both the public sector and the private sector. A lot of folks think that we only work in public sector. It's not true. Anyone that calls us to come out, we come out. Why? Because our theory is that everything is sort of connected to critical infrastructure in some way, shape, or form. So for example, we do something called notifications where we cold call organizations and we'll say, hey, through a third party individual or company, we know that you have a vulnerability on your system. We want to work with you to help you manage that situation, right? A lot of times we were getting like law firms and different organizations, and we're like, this is not connected to critical infrastructure, right? But then we realized that law firms, for example, they manage a lot of companies that are connected to critical infrastructure. So what we're seeing is that there's always a connection point. So it's very rare that we're going to say, no, we can't help you. The only way that will happen is if we have a new director that comes in and says our priorities completely change. So with the new administration, things might change in the coming months, in the coming years. But for now, anyone that calls us to come out, we're really here to support. Our mission is to partner with industry and government to understand and manage risk to our nation's critical infrastructure, and I'll talk about what that critical infrastructure is in a second. And our vision is for secure and resilient infrastructure for the American people. We do this in a number of different ways. Like I said, partnership development, that's huge for us because we're not going and digging for information, we're asking for information. And so either folks are sharing it with us or not. The more information that's shared with us, the more we can go in, do our analysis, and be able to provide alerts, advisories to tell you all what's going on. Capacity building, we do information sharing and data sharing. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Capacity building, I would say, is really big. We do anything from assessments to tabletop exercises to presentations like this. We meet one-on-one. We'll walk you through ransomware incidents. We partner with the FBI, the MSISAC. Anything that you're sort of going through from the beginning, left of boom to right of boom, I don't know if you know what that means, but basically before an incident happens and after an incident happens, we're here for all of it. And if we can't figure out the problem for you, we'll get you in touch with the person who can do that. So we do all of these things, but I would say capacity building is a huge part of what my role is as a cybersecurity advisor. So these are the 16 areas, 16 critical infrastructure areas that we're focused on, and you'll see that CISA is only connected to some of them. But like I said, we end up connecting to all of them in some way, shape, or form. So we're working with HHS, we're working with DOD, we're working with EPA to make sure that critical infrastructure is covered. But specifically, CISA focuses on chemical, commercial, communications, critical manufacturing, dams, infotech, nuclear reactors, materials and waste, and emergency services. So any of these areas, if you find that there's an issue that comes up, we're happy to engage. And a lot of times we'll create resources specific to that industry. So we're trying to get very industry specific, so we're not using generic materials for everyone. There are 10 regions. We're up here in Region 1. But what that means for you all is that, you know, if there is ever something that comes out, a cyber attack that hits in California, we get that information right away, right? Because we're connected to partners all over. And there's usually multiple folks, not just cybersecurity advisors, but we have physical security advisors, we have chemical sector folks, we have emergency communication folks all across the region. So even if we don't have access to the resources, the information, we can likely get that from someone in one of the other regions. Here in Massachusetts, our team has changed quite a bit and continues to change, especially with everything that's going on with federal government right now. Currently, there used to be 2 CSAs up until recently. Right now, I'm the only cybersecurity advisor for Massachusetts, but we're hoping to get another one after the hiring freeze is over. But we do have 3 physical security advisors, and we have an emergency communications coordinator. So what that means again is that, so if you want us to come in and do a cybersecurity assessment, happy to do that for you, but I can also bring my counterpart to do a physical security assessment where they're literally walking through the building to identify what are some of the areas that you may want to pay attention to in terms of building up your cyber hygiene capacity. So what is cybersecurity? We're gonna start really, really basic. I'm gonna ask, what do you all think cybersecurity means? I know it's a really basic question, but everybody has different definitions of what they think that means. What is cybersecurity?
Protecting your computer and your data.
Essentially everything that's connected to the internet, essentially, right? So you wanna make sure that your information, whether it be on your cell phone, whether it be on your iPad, whether it be on your computer, anything that's connected to the network, you want to make sure that you're protecting it in some way, shape, or form. So every year we do something called Secure Our World. It's a cybersecurity awareness campaign. Most of the time it's done in October because that's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We go out and we literally do presentations on cybersecurity awareness. What is cybersecurity? You know, what are some of the basic things you should know? So just in case folks don't know what that is, I'm just gonna run through that really quickly, and I know I talk really fast, so let me know if you want me to slow down. But like I said, there's a lot of slides. Happy to slow down, but also happy to share the slides. So if you're not catching it, it's okay, I can send them out to you later. So cybersecurity is officially defined as the protection of computer systems and networks from attacks by malicious actors that may result in unauthorized information disclosure, theft of, or damage to hardware, software, or data. I would say that this is a really nuanced definition because to me, it's not necessarily a malicious actor. You want to protect your systems from any unauthorized use, right? So that may be malicious or not. So at the end of the day, cybersecurity is protecting all of your networks from any sort of unauthorized use. Wherever there is technology, there needs to be some form of cybersecurity. Just gonna give a quick note. I know everybody's talking about AI right now, and for some reason with all of the AI stuff going on, people forget about cybersecurity. I don't know why. It's still technology, it's still software. Cybersecurity is extremely important. Any technology that you have, assume that there needs to be a security component involved. These stats are a little outdated going back to 2022. I think some of them are going back to 2023, but they're still relevant. Some of the feelings around cybersecurity, 78% of people considered staying secure online a priority. That number is a little bit lower right now, unfortunately. We're trying to push that up, right? The importance of cybersecurity, especially with the advancement of emerging technology, is really important. 34% noted that they often feel overwhelmed by information. This is really crucial. Whenever we're doing these presentations, I feel terrible sometimes because I feel like we're dumping a lot on you. It's really important to follow up. So please don't let this be the only interaction that we have. It's really important that you say something in the slide stuck out to me. You know what I mean? Can we have a follow-up conversation on that thing? This presentation means nothing if you can't take it back with you, if you can't take something with you and actually use it. So if you feel like it's just a lot of stuff that's being said, stop me, right? We can focus on 3 or 4 slides and really hit home with those things, right? It's not important to me to get through all of the slides because again, I can send that to you. It's important that you walk away with some actual, things, tools that you can use. 46% feel frustrated while staying secure online. That's because, for example, we're going to talk about this. How long do you think a password should be? What's the recommended length of a good password? 8, 12, 12?
32.
42. I'm not quite there yet. I heard it. Somebody said it.
14 right here.
Close.
16.
16. So right now the recommended password is 16 characters. People are like 16 characters. Who's gonna remember a 16 character password? I get it, right? The idea is not to think about it in terms of like, oh, this is something else that I have to do. It's like, how do I do this while making my life easy? The advice that, and I'm gonna get into this a little bit later, but the advice that I give is two things. One, how many of you use the password manager?
Do we?
Yeah. So there are ways, right? So for example, if you have an iPhone, I know a lot of people, it'll save your password, right? So that every time you go to a website, every time you go to an app, you don't have to type in your credentials. It just automatically sort of lets you log in. That's sort of like a password manager, right? So there are ways to remember the passwords and come up with hashed passwords and things like that. But the goal is that you want to make sure an attacker, if they're doing a brute force attack where they're just guessing random passwords, it's really difficult for them to get in. What's a good way to come up with a 16-character password? Come up with a phrase or lyrics from a song, or something that's familiar to you, where you're not just creating all random things. Stick a couple of characters in there. I know a lot of people will turn the E into a 3, whatever, right? But if it's a phrase that that you use that's personal to you, it makes it a little bit easier. So yes, it's annoying, but there's a reason for it, and it can actually be really helpful for you. And if you really are like completely against the 16-character password, there are other things you can do, like MFA. Make sure that you're authenticating in some way, shape, or form. So, especially for like bank accounts and things like that, you want to make sure that, you have an authenticator message that goes to your cell phone, that goes to like a authentication application, just something that says we want to make sure that the person who's signing in is actually the person who should be signing in. So whenever you're frustrated with one aspect of security, there's another way. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to accept and just sort of take on everything that we're sort of throwing at you, but ask the question so that we can help walk you through what are the different options that you have. Don't stay frustrated. Definitely talk to us. And then 39% of users trying to keep safe while information on how to stay secure online is confusing. That's why we're here, right? To really break that down so that hopefully it's not confusing. And we have a lot of one-pagers. So, if you feel like you're getting frustrated, or you feel like folks at home, like you're super technical, but folks at home are not, and you want to help them to really understand it, we have one-pagers that you can just like hand out, put around the house, put in your organizations to make it easier to remember some things. I'm going to go through this slide really quickly. Some online behaviors, and again, remember this is back to 2022, we need to update these slides. Only 33% of individuals create unique, strong passwords for all accounts. And let me tell you something. When you create the password, I know it's tempting, do not write it and put it on your laptop. Don't put it in the desk, under the laptop, don't do it. I worked in the law department for the city of Providence for about 4 or 5 years, and I can't tell you how many times I would go into a lawyer's office and see somebody's little post-it password. I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible, right? Like, this is not okay. So, and you assume that people know not to do that, especially when you're handling very highly sensitive information. It's not necessarily common sense. It's worth saying, right? I know that it makes life easier, but I guarantee you it's not a safe, secure way to store your passwords, right? Get a password manager, have it encrypted somewhere. I shouldn't say to put it in your phone. We advise not to just have it in your phone, but if you are going to put it in your phone, just make sure it's encrypted and make sure it's locked. If you're going to leave it on a post-it and put it in a drawer, make sure you can lock the drawer. Just something like that, you know what I mean? Don't stick it to your laptop and walk away. 43% of respondents have never heard of multi-factor authentication. That's what I was talking about in terms of having a second way to authenticate who you are, whether it's through a 6-digit code on your phone, or Microsoft has an actual app that you can download that verifies, which I think is really good. 92% of respondents took action after security training. So do trainings regularly if you can. 4 easy ways to stay safe online. So again, if you don't walk away with anything else from this presentation, these 4 things I think are really, really important. Use strong passwords and a password manager. I will say, caveat, and I have to say this because I'm a lawyer and I'm always like, there's no foolproof way. password managers are great. If you feel like you can't remember your password, please use a password manager. Know that password managers are not foolproof. Nothing is foolproof. You know, we've heard of password managers being hacked, right? So my advice to you is write it down, you know, and put it somewhere. So even if you are gonna have a password manager, still write your passwords down, because if your passwords do get hacked and you can't access it, at least you can go into your written passwords and change the passwords before anybody gets into them, right? So always my personal opinion, write it down just to have it. Recognize and report phishing attacks and update your software. These are key things. Like I said, at least 16 characters. That's going to keep changing. You know, with the use of AI and the use of advanced or more sophisticated threats, I would say even with passwords, it's an authentication issue, right? So you want to make sure that folks don't get your credentials. But starting with strong passwords is really key. So, you know, don't bite my head off in like 5 years if they're like, now you need a 20-character password. You know, like, it is what it is, but we're trying our best to make sure that, you know, you're doing what you can. The idea is, we're not saying you're never going to get hacked. What we're saying is that, you know, if you have a 16-character password and you have like a 5-character password, I'm going to go for yours, because yours is going to be much easier to get into than yours, right? So you want to sort of deter people from trying to get into your accounts. It says never reuse passwords. I know everybody reuses passwords. Again, the idea is to not reuse passwords when it comes to sensitive information, right? So if you have your bank account, right, you don't want to use that password for your social media accounts, right? So if you are going to reuse passwords, be careful about when and where you're reusing them. Don't reuse passwords that you use for sensitive information, like healthcare, portals, and all that kind of stuff. Don't use those passwords for like something that, you know, like a LinkedIn or a Facebook or anything like that. Obviously, upper and lowercase, numbers, special characters, spaces, every password, every requirement for passwords will be different. They'll let you know how many characters. Some won't even require 16, but just try to make it as complex as possible. Again, we talked a little bit about this. Password managers are not foolproof, but at the end of the day, it just makes it easier for you to remember your passwords, and it doesn't duplicate, so that's really great. Multi-factor authentication, we just talked about it. What is it exactly? It's a code sent to your phone or email, or it's an authenticator app, a security key, or biometrics. I know a lot of folks now are using biometrics where they're using their fingerprint or facial recognition. It makes it a lot easier, and it's harder to hack or spoof your actual biometrics, so that's a little bit more secure. Where should you use MFA? Email, accounts with financial information, accounts with personal information. I would always use it if you can, unless it's something like an account that you really, really don't care about. Always use MFA if you can, especially if it's something easy where you can just put your fingerprint, right? Like, why not, right? You might as well protect your information. Okay, phishing. We are going to spend a little bit of time on this. How many people know what phishing is? Okay, most of you. Okay, great. So I won't spend too much time on that. So know that, one, there's different forms of phishing. So when you get, you know, spam to your phone, it's called smishing, or there's spear phishing. There's different types of phishing. And with AI, it's gotten a lot more advanced, right? So basically, anyone that's trying to use some sort of link, some sort of malware that they're trying to embed into your system by sending you an email that's fake or purported to be from someone else, that's a form of phishing. This email is outdated, but I will say some of these things are still the same. Ways to notice phishing, bad spelling, bad grammar, immediacy, anything that's like, you have to do this right now. Like your access is going to be cut off right now unless you send us your account information. Or, you know, I think EasyPass was like the one that everybody was getting, right? Like, you didn't pay your bill, so, you know, you have to log in right now and send us your information. Anything that's like, do this right now, that's a red flag. So bad spelling and bad grammar, that was something that we said in the beginning because that was something that was happening more often. I will say with AI, that's less often the case. What I say today is use your gut, right? Like, listen to your gut, because if you look at an email and it feels off, it looks off, like the image looks off, something about the email doesn't feel right, trust your gut, because most oftentimes, even if you can't pinpoint it, something's not right. What do? Don't click on it, right? Absolutely don't click on it. Either report it, always verify. If it's a text message, always verify, right? If it's this actually happened to a family member of mine. My sister was supposedly called by Department of Homeland Security, but they must not know that, you know, she has a sibling that works for Department of Homeland Security, and they were basically trying to get her to say certain things, right? So, you know, I had advised her, tell them you'll call them back, right? Say that you want to verify their credentials, and then call back and see if it's the same number. Most oftentimes you'll, one, recognize that the number that they're calling you from is not an official number, and two, there's always a way to verify. So, you know, even if it's someone who's saying that they're your, I think we have some examples, nephew, sister, cousin, you know, somebody's in trouble and they need you to do something urgently, never respond right away if they're asking you to do something. Always say, I'll call you back. Because if you're able to verify and actually call a number that you actually know, it's a lot better for you. The other thing that you can do is, if the person is like, no, I need this right now, ask them a personal question that only that person would know, right? That's another way to try to verify. The important thing is always try to verify that the person is who they say they are. Same thing with email. If someone's emailing you from tech support, that's another big one. Tech support, something's wrong, your virus scan software is out of date, we need you to update it right now. Don't click on the link, go to the actual website or your customer agreement and call the number on your actual account or on your actual agreement and let them know what's going on. If it's something that pops up on your screen, restart your computer and then call customer support. You want to make sure that you're covering all your bases. And again, the idea is just verify. Don't, if it feels off and you're not sure, don't click it. Trust your gut and find a way to bypass what they're sending you. And then an email you weren't expecting, right? So, if it's coming late at night and you weren't expecting it, or if it's coming from someone that you wouldn't normally expect it to come from. I know, a lot of people were doing the iTunes, when I was at the city of Providence, the iTunes gift cards, right? Or the Apple gift cards. People were buying it, right? Like, because people didn't know, right? But it's like, would your boss actually ask you to go get iTunes gift cards? You know what I mean? Would this person usually send this type of email to you, or would they send it at this time? That's a red flag. So recognize and report phishing. I think on both Gmail, well, I'm not sure about Gmail, but I think they've adapted it. But definitely with Microsoft, they have a little icon on your actual email, so you just hit report phishing, and it usually sends an alert out that goes to your IT person, right? So you don't have to call all the time, but if you don't have that, please do call your IT person or whoever the designated person is that you need to call to report the phishing. Don't click any links, don't open any attachments, don't send any personal information, and don't send money. Do verify, contact the person directly, report it to your IT department, and delete it. Update your software. This is the big thing because people hate updating it, especially if you're like me and you have 20 windows up all the time. Nobody wants to close all the windows to update their phone or update their computer. Just do it. Like, I know it's annoying, I know it's frustrating, I know everybody's like, I'll do it later. Honestly, what happens is if you wait, you're giving time for, so think about it, right? Every time there's an update, that means they're updating the software to get rid of any sort of vulnerabilities, any sort of issues that could be problematic with the system. A threat actor is looking at those vulnerabilities and saying, oh, I found a way to now get into your system through this vulnerability, right? So if you don't patch it or you don't update it, I could get into your system and now hack into your system that way, right? But if you do the quick updates and you update it as soon as you see it, it's just less likely that someone is going to get into your system, right? So please do the updates right away and set them to automatic, and that way you don't even have to worry about it. The other thing that's not on there that I'm going to mention is how many of you have smart TVs or have Siri or Alexa or all of these things? So just know that you're always being listened to. What does that mean, right? And again, if you don't mind, it's okay. I'm just saying that, you want to make sure that if you're not updating these things, it's because you don't want to update it, right? But if you think that, like, when you get the TV or you get the device, that it's already set to a secure setting, it's not. And the example that I give is, I bought a TV, didn't even realize it was a smart TV, wasn't really into the whole thing, just got a TV, And my friend comes over with her kid, and the kid is like, I want to watch CoComelon. Next thing you know, on my TV, CoComelon's like coming up on the TV, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not okay, right? So, yeah, especially as an attorney, right? Like, we talk about things all the time, and, you know, there's attorney-client privilege, and we're like, you know, we don't want everything that we're talking about getting out there, right? So always go to your default settings and make sure that they're set to privacy, right? Like, and again, if you don't care, then that's, you know, up to you. But if you want to make sure that your settings are updated, you have to go into the default settings and change them to make sure that they're updated. Same thing with your phone. Every time you update your phone, sometimes your privacy settings change. You want to make sure you go back in and set your privacy settings to what you want them to be. So this is for phones, just a screenshot of where to go. You go into your settings. I think it's under general. There's a place where you can go to software update, and you can set it to update automatically. Just make sure you're doing the regular updates. And then the little green icon, I get that all the time. I got it earlier today. I was so mad. I had like 50 screens open, and I was just like, I'm just gonna hit it, right? Just gonna update everything, and just make sure you're updating your screen regularly. You know what kills me? I'm just gonna say this. So I work with cybersecurity individuals, and you know, when you're on a Zoom call and the person is sharing their screen and they have the update button on their thing, and you're like, oh my gosh, like just update your screen. But yeah, just update. Ways to get involved. So the idea is that, you know, if you have good secure practices at home, that you'll bring those practices to work and vice versa, right? So at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're practicing, you know, whatever it is you're doing at home, at work, and if whatever, like, you know, things you're learning at work, you're also practicing at home, because that is what creates the cybersecurity culture, right? So like, if you're safe and you're like, well, I'm not going to share this information with anybody else, they don't need to hack into your particular account. They can hack into your counterpart's account, your spouse's account. They can hack into your child's account, your colleague's account, to get your information anyway, right? So it's worthwhile to make sure that we're all protected, because our systems are connected, right? So do share this information with you know, the folks that you're living with, the folks that you're working with. Publicize the resources. CISA does everything free. Like, every resource that we have, everything is free. Everything you want to know, need to know, you know, even things you don't want to know, we have it on our website. So please use our resources. Please share them. Please talk about them. Please ask us about them. Email me. Happy to have a conversation. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of this, but the idea is just be safe at home, be safe at work, and share. Sharing is caring. We're going to skip some of this stuff. Okay, cybersecurity culture is really important, because people think that, you know, hackers get in most of the time because of faulty, not having the right firewalls or not having the right IT software. It's not true. Like, most of the time, it's not an IT issue, it's a people issue, right? It's lack of training, it's lack of knowledge, it's lack of understanding what you need to be doing. That's where most of the hackers come in. So what we always say, people, process, technology. You know, a lot of times everybody's so focused on the technology part that they forget about the people and they forget about the process. Understand that if the people part is not right and the process part is not right, the technology is not gonna matter. You can spend thousands of dollars on the technology, but the person using the technology needs to know how to use it and use it well. Right, so it's worthwhile to spend time on cybersecurity trainings and to do them regularly. And again, as technology continues to grow and continues to emerge, it only gets more and more sophisticated. So the more you're doing training, the more you're getting used to it, the better off you'll be. Identify the trainings that are available to you. Again, CISA has a multitude of free trainings, and I mean anything from basic to super advanced, anything from IT to OT, information technology to operational technology. We have it all. So if you just are like, I want to do a free training, where can I go find it? I have it in the slides. Feel free to go on our website and check that out. Stay current on cybersecurity events and incidents. You can sign up for our alerts and advisories, and then encourage others to make good choices online as well. A number of different resources. I can send you my PowerPoint presentation so that you can actually click on the links. Obviously, I can't share them here, just to let you know that we have a number of different resources, and we wanted to identify certain ones specifically for you, so that it could be helpful. And then you can stay in touch. All right, I'm going to jump into our services and tools. Anyone have any questions about anything I said before I keep going?
I have a question, Montserrat. One of the slides that you had was about, like, you know, like a shopping site, like an online shopping site. So
Yeah.
we'll use Amazon because I'm sure everyone in here purchases from Amazon. So you have a credit card associated with your Amazon account.
Yep.
Now, you might have an authentication to get onto your device to open that up. How do you protect yourself on a particular site like that then? Or is there no way?
What do you mean?
So you want to sign into Amazon and you have a password,
Okay.
right? But now your password is remembered and you have a credit card associated to that account.
Okay.
Is there any way that you can protect yourself, you know, on top of just putting in your
Multi-factor.
password to get into Amazon?
Multi-factor.
Can you do that with Amazon?
Yeah, I do multi-factor with Amazon. They can't get in unless they have my thumbprint. That's how I sign in to Amazon. And then it depends on you, because everybody. So you have to understand that there's security on this side, there's convenience on this side, right? And we try to come somewhere in the middle where it's like security meets convenience, so that you're not super stressed about having these like super crazy security protocols. You can still access it. But if you're really concerned about the security side, you can log out every time and require your fingerprint every time. The other thing too, and I don't think it's in the slides, if you haven't done it already, and I say this to everybody, even if you haven't gotten the email where you've been breached in some site, it's gonna happen, right? Freeze your credit, because and you can unlock it when you need it, you know what I mean? Because at this rate, hackers are getting in everywhere, right? Like every other day, it's another email that's like, this company, this site has been breached. It's gonna happen. You know, our saying is it's not a matter of if, but when. Just know that it's gonna happen. Even if you do all the things, it's still gonna happen. That's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. You can recover from it. If you ever get an email that says this account or this site has been breached, first thing you wanna do is change your password. And if it's connected to, like your credit card is connected, or you know, you got a verification that somebody was using your card, first thing I do is, one, I'll get another card and I'll freeze the accounts until I'm using them. And then I also don't use, first of all, I don't carry credit cards. I mean, I don't carry debit cards with me at all. I very rarely carry credit cards. I only carry one. And then I always use my credit card, right? It's better for you to get reimbursed on your credit card versus someone taking money out of your actual account, right? So these are some things to think about, but yeah, always have multi-factor, and that's a great way to protect your account.
Can you talk, I know you have a thing
Million
about,
slides.
can you just talk quickly about freezing credit accounts and what that looks like? And
Yeah, so
how do you go through it?
Yeah, there's two ways you can do it. You can call the 3 credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, or you can just do it online. So each one of those credit bureaus has a website that will say, freeze my credit. You just fill it out online and it will be frozen until you unfreeze it. You can also lock your cards. Like if you're someone, my sister, for some reason, every single time, somebody's always getting her credit card. My thing is like, if somebody keeps getting into your credit card, you need to cancel those cards, all of those cards, because something's not right, and then you need to just get new cards. But if somebody keeps using your cards, lock your actual card, right? So that nobody's making transactions unless you're authorizing it, and use a different card. But with your credit, it's different. So what it means is that nobody can purchase a house or buy a car or make, you know, big, grandiose purchases in your name. So freezing your credit allows you to block stuff like that from happening. And it's really quick, really easy.
And then how do you unblock it? Do you
Same
get like
thing. You just
like
call.
a password that you just reach out and say, hey, it's me?
Yeah, you just you can call. They ask for all of your information, right? So it's very thorough. But again, and I feel like I shouldn't say this as a cybersecurity advisor, but I say it as an attorney. Even Equifax has been breached, right? Everybody's been breached at some point. So your information is probably out there, you know. But that's okay. It doesn't mean you shouldn't think about security. It means that, again, like, just make it a little bit more difficult for folks to get into your stuff. You know what I mean? Believe it or not, it does help. So, any other questions?
Was your group involved in the recent hack in Bourne where they had the?
Which hack?
No, okay.
No,
Town of Bourne?
Town of
Town
Bourne.
of Bourne?
Oh no, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Any other questions? Now we're gonna get into the cyber services. Okay. Are we good on time? You might have to stop me at some point because there's a lot, and I'm gonna try to go really fast. Feel free to slow me down. We're gonna skip over some of the basics. So what are the basic cyber threat actors? Because people are saying, why would they come after me, right? Like, what's the point of coming after me? I don't have any information. Every hacker has a different reason for coming after you. And so I'll just say right off the bat, most of the time it's financial, right? So like if they can get into one of your accounts, get your password, and then brute force into another account, like if you're using the same password, for example, for your financial accounts, your healthcare accounts, that means they can get your social security number, they can get your birth date, all of the personal information to get money from you, right? Same thing with organizations. We deal a lot with ransomware attacks. What's the purpose? To get money, or get cryptocurrency or some form of currency, right? So majority of the time that is what it is, but that's not always the case. Sometimes there are state-sponsored actors. Most of the time we see that with bigger organizations let me take that back. It's not always big organizations. Sometimes they start with smaller organizations to get to the bigger organization. So for example, if you heard about the Target breach a couple years ago, how was Target breached? It was breached through a vendor that they worked with, an HVAC vendor, right? So it's like if you want to get to the big, the big entity, you go through the little entities that will lead you to the big entities. And sometimes that starts with an individual, right? So you're like, if I can get into so-and-so's account, then I can get into like the minor organization's account, and then I can get into the large organization. So some of these threat actors are playing the long game. You know what I mean? So these are the things that you need to be mindful of. There's a number of different reasons, depending on the industry, depending on, what the threat actor is looking for. Sometimes it's insider threat. Sometimes someone in the company is disgruntled. You may think, oh, that's not going to happen to us. It actually happens more often than not. In the Verizon data breach, they have a report every year. Insider threat is actually a huge part of cybersecurity scams and issues like that. So if you have an employee that is accessing data that's unauthorized, that's considered a data breach, right? And that can be prevented in a number of different ways, and I'm not going to get into too much detail today, but when you're securing your systems, you want to make sure that you're separating, you're segmenting different aspects of your network. Folks that should not have access to certain personal information, make sure they don't have access to. And that's something that a lot of organizations forget to do. You're like, oh, not a big deal, or this person's not going to do that. Don't assume, right? At the end of the day, if someone doesn't need to have access to information, they shouldn't have access to it. The second thing that happens all the time is that when somebody leaves the job, they're not always offboarded, right? So what that means is they still have access to their accounts, even though that they no longer work for the company, which means they can download information, they can do whatever they want with it. So making sure that you're cutting off access right away is really important. But just letting you know that there's a lot of different reasons why actors will come into your system and try to hack. There's a lot of different ways that they do this as well. We talked about phishing. We haven't talked about social engineering. Does anybody know what social engineering is? Okay, social engineering is really important because how many of you have like a LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, some form of social media? Is everybody on? Oh my God, this is great. You don't have social media.
No.
That's awesome.
You guys aren't fessing up.
What happens is a lot of times when someone wants to get into your organization, they want to get into your account, they'll play the long game, and it's something called social engineering. They'll get to know everything about you. So they'll do a lot of research online. They'll dig for any and all information, right? So like, do you have a dog? Do you have kids? Do you have grandkids? Do you have like where do you live? People post everything online, right? So like where you went on vacation, how many houses you have, were you just at your beach house, any and all information. They'll get to know everything about you, and then they will pose as someone who knows you. Oh, remember when we met at the conference last year? And you're like, I met like 20 people, I don't know. So they befriend you, and you're thinking, oh, I met this person. They have no idea who you are, but they find a way to sort of pretend that they know you to get into your life, essentially, to learn more about you so that they can eventually get to the place where they're getting more and more access to get into your account. And there's so many different ways to do this. Some ways of social engineering is someone will show up at your job. How many people, and I won't believe you you come in a locked door and you just let the person behind you come in after you. Like you won't like close the door before the person behind you comes in. How many people absolutely don't let the next person in even if they're like 2 steps away? Right? At the end of the day, you really shouldn't do that, right? Like even if it's colleagues, technically you're not supposed to do that. It's so rude, right? Or we're like, I see you standing right there. I'm not gonna close the door. I'm running. But at the end of the day, sometimes people are pretending to be someone they're not. They might be pretending to be a vendor, like, oh, I just need to drop this off, or oh, I work with IT, or oh, I just need to go to the front desk to do this thing, right? And they could be lying, right? That's their way of trying to get into the organization, and they're gonna lie their way to get into whatever rooms or accounts that they need to get into. So there's so many different ways to social engineer someone. IT, like, so, you know, if folks know, please never post when you're on vacation, right, or you're off duty. Even when you put your out of office email, don't put the dates. You know, I know people are like, I'm gonna be out from this day to this day, but you're basically saying, you're letting the world know exactly when you're gonna be out. And the problem is, if I know that those dates are the days you're gonna be out, let's say I call finance department, right, and I'm like, oh, you know, so-and-so's out, but they asked me to call you to get this information because blah, 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 right? And they have all the information. Well, you know, they're actually, you know, they're not gonna have good service because I know they're in London right now, and so, you know, all this information, but that's how they can social engineer their way into getting information. So there's a number of different ways to do it. You just wanna make sure that you're paying attention and not giving too much information so that you're not susceptible to social engineering. Spear phishing is when they will try to target a specific person in your company. Usually it's the chief, right? Like it's someone at the head of the organization, and they're trying to get their credentials specifically, so they're targeting that account, and sometimes they may use you to get to that person's account. So you want to be careful of that. All of this just to say,
Sorry, just a question on the out of office.
mhm.
What do you say? I'm out of the office?
So I just say, you know, I'm gonna be out of the office, I'll have limited access, please contact so-and-so, you know, if you need something, you know what I mean? I don't necessarily put a date. I know some people feel strange about that. Yeah, I don't put dates in my out of office messages. Yeah, so at the end of the day, they're trying to get sensitive information, they're trying to get into your accounts, they're trying to input malware or some sensitive, the word is not coming to me right now, something malicious into your system, so you want to be careful of that, or they're trying to get access to an account. So the best ways to avoid that is to be careful on who you're sharing information with. Common goals of advanced persistent threats, again, there's a number of different reasons. Most oftentimes it's financial, sometimes it's intimidation and suppression to restrict freedom of speech. You'll see this more with the terrorist sort of organizations or organizations that have a specific cause that they're trying to promulgate into a specific industry or organization. They're trying to monitor the activities. A lot of folks are playing the long game. So they'll be in your system for years and you won't know it, right? So you want to be careful. Most of the breaches that we see, it's not that yesterday they came into your system and now all of a sudden your system crashed. No, most of the time they've been in there for a really long time. That's why you want to make sure that you're doing updates. And then they could be trying to discredit your reputation. Okay, so what can you do? There's a number of different things you can do. I'm not going to go through all of this. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff. But I can send you the slides. A lot of the stuff we already talked about, multi-factor authentication, making sure you update your devices, making sure that you use strong passwords. Device safety is really important. So anything that you can do to secure your actual device, that's really important. Antivirus, anti-malware protections, a lot of times it's embedded in your systems, especially nowadays. Before you used to have to buy it separately. A lot of times it is embedded, but sometimes it's not. So you want to make sure you know whether it is or whether it isn't, so that you're supplementing with your own antivirus or anti-malware protections. And then the actual security of your device. Don't leave your laptop any and everywhere. Even when you're traveling, especially if it's a work device, don't leave your laptop on the front seat. Don't leave it on the back seat. Don't leave it where it's showing. Put it in your trunk if you can. Don't bring it with you everywhere you go. And then obviously, if you're on an unstable network, so if you're in a hotel, you're in a coffee shop, don't just sign on to any random Wi-Fi. Make sure that you either are signing in through a VPN or that you're using a hotspot so that you know that the connection is more secure. So then there's device safety and there's data safety. So anything that's sensitive information, put a pin to it, some sort of authentication. Adjust your settings, your web browser settings, your phone settings, for the most privacy essentially. So always go into your settings, see what your privacy is at, and when it comes to the sensitive data, make sure that you're securing the information. What comes next? So we're gonna skip some of this. We're gonna skip a lot of this. We'll come to this later. I'm gonna jump into CISA support. At the end of the day, we can get into the other slides a little bit later, but it's basically just saying that everything's connected, right? So the reason why we do trainings and things like that is to show you how your OT, your operational technology, and that's like your HVAC systems, anything that's connected to the internet, right? So some of the things you don't think about, if you're thinking about this building in and of itself, what systems, if they go down, affect your ability to do your job correctly, right? Like if the electricity goes out, you know what I mean? Do you have censored lighting?
Yes, we do.
So if you have censored lighting, things like that, anything that's connected to a system, if those things go down, how do they affect your ability to fulfill your mission and do your job, right? So looking at all of those things, you want to make sure that you're understanding the connection points, and we can help you do that through assessments and tabletops and all that kind of stuff. So if you ever want to bring us back to do the assessments for you, we're happy to do that with you. But just understand that so that we can support you in those ways. I know that this slide is unreadable, so I actually printed out a copy if you do want to take a look at it. I didn't make multiple copies because it's not that important unless you're super interested, but this is just a list of services that we offer. Things like vulnerability scanning, web application scanning, remote penetration testing, risk and vulnerability assessments, and so on and so forth. We offer trainings, and this is just for me to say we offer a lot of free things. Use us. If you want to learn more about what those things are, I do have a handout here, but just know that if there's something that you want to do that's a little bit more advanced, we can offer that for free. So sorry that it's not readable, but definitely feel free to check out the actual handout. A lot of folks, when it comes to working with federal government, are concerned about the information sharing, right? Once you give us your information, what does that mean? Are we sharing it? Are we a regulatory agency that has to report it? The answer is no. We are not currently a regulatory agency. We're not sharing your data. We don't have to report it to anyone, and we even have this thing called PCII. It's a PCII MS management system. So any personal, private, sensitive information that you share with us, if you sign this form, you're basically saying that we cannot share that information with anyone. So if we do an assessment with you, it generates a report. We can give you back the report. It will be password protected. The only way that someone will get access to that document is if you share it. Right, so just know that we are thinking about ways to secure your data. And one thing that I do when I do assessments, I don't put all of the sensitive information in the document, right? If we're having a conversation through the assessment, I'll have you take notes, I might take notes, and we can do that separately off the system so that not all the sensitive information is in the same document. And then when we do a follow-up conversation, we can talk about some of the priority areas that you want to focus on and go from there. These are some of the CISA offerings. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just know that we have a lot of offerings. Assessments is where we start. So anything that we do, we say first you want to figure out where you are in order to figure out where you want to be, right? So we would do something called the Cyber Security Performance Goals, and that's lower to the left of the screen. We have the Cybersecurity Performance Goals, and then to the right of the screen where it says PSA, we have the Physical Security Assessments. That's like I would say half-hour to 2-hour assessment depending on how you answer the questions. We basically come in and ask you all sorts of things about your cybersecurity posture. When you answer those questions, we'll come back and say, and it's based on the NIST security framework. So, if you understand the cybersecurity best practice frameworks, we do use NIST. So it goes through the 5 critical areas. We cover all of them. And we ask you questions to say, like, where are you currently in your current practices? And then we'll identify goals with you, priority areas with you, and from there we'll build next steps. So if that's tabletop exercises, if that's incident response planning, if that's, purchasing equipment, whatever that is, we're here to support you. If you are like, we already have a vendor, we're already doing security assessments, we don't need that, we want something a little bit more advanced, we do have things like penetration testing and risk and vulnerability assessments. We do have folks from headquarters that will come out and support you in those things. There's a waiting list for that kind of stuff though, right? Because everybody wants that. So just know it takes a little bit longer. I would say the most popular is the remote penetration testing, the risk and vulnerability assessment, and the validated architecture design assessment. Those are the ones we get all the time, but we do have ransomware assessments. So if you're afraid of ransomware, you want to know what your posture is in terms of that, we have the assessments. The other thing that you can do is you can download it yourself. We have it on our website. So all of the assessments are right on our website. Download them, use them, and then call us in if you want us to offer you support. Any questions about that? I know this is a lot of information, but.
I just have, so we use two different national softwares.
Okay.
Where I'm at the food bank.
Okay.
And so we have our own internal protection of our
Okay.
own data, but it's a national software. Do you have a recommendation of things like when it's a, cloud-based national software?
We have services, we have recommended services, but we can't give specific recommendations on which type of services to use. We can just say, we have this plethora of services that you can use. In terms of cloud-based, we do have something called Scuba, that focuses specifically on cloud security, but we would have to know specifically what the circumstances are in your particular organization to then be able to say, these are the things that we think that you could take advantage of. So give me a call and let's talk more about that, and I'm sure we have something that could support you, and I will try to get to that. I have no idea what time it is, but that's like at the end somewhere. So CPHA is the thing that we do most oftentimes, so just know that a small assessment that takes, 2% of your day, right, it actually helps you to cover 80% of the issues, right? So it's not all about going out buying all of this, really expensive technology. It's really about figuring out what your priority areas are. So doing something as simple as an assessment to identify your priority areas, it'll actually get you 80% of the results that you want. So it's really worth, even if you're not doing it with us, to make sure you're doing a regular assessment. Don't assume one and done, by the way. If you do an assessment this year, it doesn't mean you never need to do an assessment again. You want to make sure that periodically you're doing an assessment in case your cyber posture changes. These are different assessments that we offer, and like I said, we use the NIST framework. The key areas are identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. We ask questions based on all of those areas. And then these are some of the assessments that we offer: cyber performance goals, cyber resilience essential, we're actually revamping the CRE. Cyber resilience review is really great because it brings in the entire organization. So the CPG is more for your IT folks, right? They can answer the questions regarding your network and say, yeah, this is where we are, this is where we want to be. But in terms of the cyber resilience review, it's organizational. Like I said earlier, it's about people, process, technology, and your technology could be great, and your IT person could be great, and your security people could be great. But if you're not having the high level buy-in, if you're not having everybody sort of on board understanding their role in cybersecurity, it doesn't matter, right? So getting that high level buy-in is where the cyber resilience review comes in. We have folks from every department sort of sit in and say, well, this is how I'm impacted and this is how I'm impacted. And I'll say firsthand, when I was at the City of Providence, I actually worked with someone from CISA, so I was on the opposite side. It helped us a lot. We had folks from fire, we had folks from facilities, we had folks from operations, we had folks from every department. And what we realized is that there were gaps because, like, for example, the facilities person wasn't talking to the head of public safety, and the head of public safety is managing everything within, the public safety complex, right? It's a problem when those two are not talking and facilities is saying one thing and the public safety director is saying something else, right? So when you're all in a room, you start to identify the bigger gaps, which can then inform your incident response plans and your overall cybersecurity program. Like I said, we have ransomware reviews, we have external dependencies, so any of your external vendors, we can figure out how that affects your cybersecurity posture. Make sure you bring the lawyers in. I always say that, because if you're not bringing the lawyers in to write the SLAs, the service level agreements, making sure that you're covered. If they have a breach, they need to be letting you know that they have a breach, and under, how many hours do they need to be letting you know. All of that language should be secured before the breach actually happens. So yeah, this is just a number of stuff that we do to make sure that you're fully supported. I'm gonna skip the CPG stuff. Cyber hygiene scanning, that's basic level scanning. So a lot of times organizations already have that, but we do offer that for free. So any application scanning, vulnerability scanning, it's really quick and really easy. So all you have to do is email vulnerability@cista.dhs.gov, and we can sign you up for those services. It's really helpful. A lot of organizations reach out to us just for that capability. Just know that it only covers a certain amount of devices. It doesn't cover, I always forget the number, I need to remember the number, but it covers a certain amount of devices. If you email them, they'll let you know. And then we have a multitude of resources. So again, I'm gonna be sending you this presentation, so don't feel like you have to stare at all the fine print on the screen. Just know that we have a number of different resources, whether you wanna report information to us, whether you want information from us. We have alerts and advisories. We have information specifically on emergency communications, risk management, K through 12, anything you think of, we have it there. So what you can do is, if you want information about a particular area, email me directly. so that you're not getting the runaround, and I'm happy to share that information with you specifically so that you're not getting bogged down in our website.
If you have a security program with a VPN option on or off, is it good to keep it on all the time?
The VPN?
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
yes. And I mean,
Sometimes it makes it a little doggy.
yeah, so again, it's like security versus convenience, right? But VPNs, you're just ensuring a secure connection. And when I say ensure, I say that loosely because VPNs have also been hacked. But again, it's a little bit more secure than not having that VPN connection, especially if you're working remotely. Make sure that you're always signing in through the VPN. You can sign up for our advisories. Like I said, we have a number of different email distribution lists, and our goal is not to overwhelm you. So really take a look at our website and see if there are things that are really particularly interesting to you. We do joint advisories with the FBI, with the MSI-SAC. So a lot of times you can get that information. If you're already subscribed to the MSI-SAC, you're already subscribed to other paid services, that's fine. Sometimes we have information that they don't. Sometimes we're sharing the same information. So folks are like, oh my gosh, it's enough information, right? But the goal is to stay on top of things so that you know about an alert or a vulnerability or something as soon as it comes out. As soon as we know about it, we publish it on our website so that you have access to that information so that you can go into your system and manage the vulnerabilities as soon as possible. Same thing about malicious actors, things that are happening. Anytime we get that information, again, we're publishing it so that you know what's happening in real time so that you can take precautions on your end. I'm gonna skip some of this stuff. So we do have one-page handouts, a lot of the stuff that I was saying earlier. We have one page, you can pick whichever one you want on multi-factor authentication, on strong password. So if you know that your organization specifically is struggling with the passwords issue, you can print out that one page and make sure that you're circulating that so that folks understand those things. We want to make this as simplistic as possible. We do tend to update these regularly. Again, we have a new administration. I don't know if this Secure Our World campaign is going to continue, but it's on our website as of now. So if you want to print out the one-pagers, you can do that. We do have resources on AI. I am your go-to AI person in Region 1. I've been working on AI for a really long time, so if you ever want an AI presentation, let me know. I'm happy to flip this and do all things AI and cybersecurity, data governance, and all of that kind of stuff. But just know that if you're interested in AI and want to know where to begin, CISA is really, really focused on making sure that developers are being held accountable, right? So we're putting out a lot of guidance on what it means to be secure from the development standpoint, and we have a lot of that guidance on our website. We have a number of different cybersecurity resource guides on anything from asset management, risk management, training and awareness, vulnerability management, incident management. Again, anything that your organization specifically wants to delve into more depth with. You don't have to do all of it. Understand the one thing or the three things or the key things, you know, that are really important for your organization to focus on, and know that we have some sort of a resource guide or advisory guide on our website that we can share with you. Additional resources, again, I'll send this to you. Still not done. Now we're going to get into the cybersecurity tools. And again, I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. To what you were saying earlier, the cloud security, we do have something called Scuba. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it's the Secure Cloud Business Applications Project, and it provides guidance and capabilities to secure agencies' cloud business application environments. And you can find more information on our website. So when I send the presentation, I included the link so that you can just click on it and learn more about cloud security, our cloud security services. And just know that some of these offerings that we offer, you do have to download through GitHub. So CISA is sharing the information, but we're not necessarily providing the venue for downloading it. But I think most of the ones, I actually put the finalized baselines are available through GitHub. The ones that are available through GitHub, I think I put a note at the bottom of the slide. So Scuba works with Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. More information on our website. You can see the security configurations, learn more if you click on the links. Just go to CISA.gov/scuba, and the information is there. And this is just a little bit about what that looks like. We have Malcolm. Again, it's not a CISA offering specifically. You have to download it through GitHub, but it's, a deployable network traffic analysis tool for full packet capture. If you don't, a lot of folks have this already, so don't feel like you have to exchange your paid service for CISA service. We offer these for folks who don't know where to begin and like have no idea where to start, right? So again, if you have a paid offering already, feel free to use it, but just know that if you're looking to start your network traffic analysis, we do have resources. And again, this is just what it looks like. And then logging made easy. Again, it's a logging tool, no cost, log management and threat detection solution. Again, it's for small and medium-sized organizations that have limited resources. LME offers centralized logging, proactive threat detection, and enhanced security. It's comprehensive, customizable, logging through filters using open source software. Again, this is a little bit about what it looks like. This is actually fairly new because we were trying to get it active for about a year or two. And we finally got it active, so really excited that we have this offering. And then we have other hunt and incident response tools. The Untitled Goose tool, I don't know that much about it, to be honest with you. It's a tool that's supposed to help network defending. It detects potentially malicious activity in specific types of programs. So if you're interested and you have Microsoft as a service provider, feel free to take a look at our Untitled Goose tool. And again, you can click on this and download it from GitHub. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Malware Next Gen provides automated malware analysis support for all U.S. federal, state, local, tribal, and territorial government agencies, so you would be able to use it. You do have to create a login for this, and you're only able to use it through authorized use. So you would want to go on our website and read in detail what that looks like. But we do have the tool that you can start to analyze malware, but just make sure that you're following the directions specifically on our website, and I included the link here. This is a little bit about what it looks like. And then we have a number of other free tools, and literally if you go to CISA.gov/free cybersecurity services and tools, all of the stuff will come up. But again, if you're overwhelmed, and I perfectly understand if you get overwhelmed, don't feel like you have to go it alone. That's why I'm giving you my contact information. Call me, email me, happy to walk you through it. And then we have training and exercises. I'm just gonna run through the slides because I've been talking a lot. We have all this stuff. We have a lot of training. We have a lot of webinars. And you can do it at your own pace. You can do it in your own time. Some of it is really basic. Some of it is really advanced. So wherever you are, feel free to just jump right in. A lot of folks are like, I don't know where to start. There are some things that are literally labeled 101. So feel free to go in and check out our free trainings. OT training, anybody that's interested in operational technology and how it's connected to the internet, that's something that we're really, really focused on. So we partner with INS to offer trainings there. Tabletop exercises, I didn't say a lot about that before. Again, we can be as hands-on or as hands-off as you want us to be. So normally you'll have an incident response plan already, and if you do have an incident response plan, we'll help you test it to make sure it actually works, right? So we can come in and do the tabletop exercise for you. We have a number of different scenarios. Then we have tiered levels, right? So on the basic level, we have all of this stuff on our website. You can download the resources and do your own tabletop exercise. Level 2 is you come to us and you say, we want you to run it for us, so that we have someone external leading the tabletop exercise, happy to do that. And then we have level 3. We have headquarters do a very specific, detailed, organizational tabletop exercise, and it's very comprehensive. So again, if that happens, it's a little bit more complex to schedule because they're going out to everybody, right? But it's worthwhile because it's really in-depth. But we have any level of in-depth versus, just do it yourself tabletop exercises, all of the different scenarios, and we've updated it. We have some new scenarios on there are available on our website, so feel free to check that out. And then physical security, I'll just say that we have physical security advisors that can walk you through the assessments, but everything that we do for cyber, they do on the physical side. We want to make sure that we're working together. We have this convergence model where we're not just like, cybersecurity is the only thing that matters, because obviously it's not. So we work together to make sure that we're protecting your physical assets as well as your cyber assets. This is more on the physical security side. If you're interested, I can have someone from our organization that is a PSA come in and walk you through all of the physical security assessments and resources and tools. And then again, we have an emergency communications person, not by state, but by region. So she's connected to everyone. She's driving anywhere from Vermont down to Rhode Island. So, we want to make sure that if you have a need for her, happy to connect you with her. She does a lot of great stuff, but she can talk to you about all of the things that she does. Just know that we have that as a resource. I promise we are getting to the end. Next steps, call me. Just call me and let me know what you need, and we're happy to help you out. And this is our contact information. Told you we were coming to the end. So just know that I'm available to you. We have 3 PSAs. Hopefully we'll have another CSA. We cover the entire state of Massachusetts, so anywhere we need to go, we're happy to go there. Yeah, happy to offer you support. And then this is me. And that's not my number anymore, so might have that number. My actual number is here, 617-435-1467. That is my cell phone number, so you can reach me wherever I'm at. Happy to come and support you. Any questions?
The difference between the PSA and the CSA again?
Yeah, so the CSA is the cybersecurity advisor. We're focusing on your cyber assets, and the PSA is the physical or protective security advisor, and they're focusing on your physical security assets. Other questions? Was that beneficial? Did everybody walk away with at least one thing?
Yes.
You're scaring me.
That I did my job.
Yeah.
But just know that, like, now we're here to help you, right?
Yeah.
So we give you all this information, but we're not going to leave you alone.
Well, you give me your chicken scratch.
Excellent. Yeah. So I feel a little better now that this the MFA, however you want to say it, is now being installed and we're utilizing, even though it's a pain in the butt. Now,
Why am I getting all the looks?
you've been very, yes, because you've been verified though, but thank you, Montserrat, we greatly appreciate it. This was very beneficial, voluminous, but it's good to hear it, even though we've been hearing it from our IT people, but it's...
Are you saying she talked a lot? I'm just asking.
No. Well, if she's from Rhode Island, now you get it. Right? I'm Cranston.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I'm from Cumberland.
Oh, that's further away. But anyway, so thank you. If we're all set, any other questions? Otherwise, April, we'll have another one, and then our last one in May before the summer break, and we'll find, again, if you have anything that you want to have discussed or any ideas, please let us know. Please, before you leave, make sure you look at the sign-up sheet and the information sheet, update your email address so that we can continue to get everything out to you. And I greatly appreciate everybody taking the time coming here, especially, our guest speaker, and giving us a lot of information. So, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.